Hello folks, and welcome to Linux for Seniors. I have a new distribution to talk about that has a lot to offer you, and it's listed as a beginner system, but it has a lot of bells and whistles and some different ways you can configure it also for children, or as they put it on the screen there, for and so, in other words, for elderly folks. But anyways, I'm going to give you a tour nonetheless. I'll let you see about this distribution and also where to get it. My videos are more than 2 minutes on all of my videos if you're not a subscriber. I do encourage that you become a subscriber. I do have a lot of videos to offer you. And my previous library contained over 400. My new YouTube site, Linux for Seniors, they're a little bit longer, because I try to explain this to not only elderly, but, well, folks that are new to Linux in general. So I encourage that you subscribe. That icon will be here the whole time, so you can click that at any time. So let's talk about this distribution here. I'm going to first give you system information, and then I'm going to actually take you on a tour of this thing. And I'm running the Xfce distribution, and believe it or not, I did have a choice between another desktop as soon as I booted up. And this is the live mode that I'm running this. Now, I just want to let you know before I start, this did boot up in the live copy in 4K because my monitor is 4K, and it looked very nice. I'm using the 1080, and it's a little bit subdued. In other words, a little soft. So a lot of you folks may find that maybe blurry. I don't know, depending on your screen. All right, I'm going to first open up Terminal Emulator. And by the way, I was given the choice of a light or a dark desktop when I actually booted into this thing in the live version. So I'm going to use this command here. So some of you folks that have seen my videos in the past 4 years, you have seen me use this many times. It's just system information. I could use NeoFetch, but I would have to install it, which, you know, install commands, I'll just give you an example of this. This will actually tell me that I need to actually perform that command. So there's a typical install command for you right there. Sudo just means super user do apt install, space install is the command, and the name of the package is NeoFetch. Anyways, so let me hit up clear. And if you're brand new to Linux in general, I would suggest that you learn how to use this little terminal box, because it's fun. If I installed NCal, you can actually have fun with trying to guess somebody's birthday, day of the week. Maybe I'll show a sample of that if I get time a little bit later. So anyways, I am going to, sorry about that, I'm going to start off this process by using inxi for a reason. And the switch that I'm using is the FXZ. It just doesn't show personal information. So I also use this computer for other things, but I am booted up in the live copy. So this again is Emmabuntus. I wish I could pronounce that right. It's actually out of France, and you'll see that in a little bit. But this is based off of Debian. Debian stable, to be honest, and or not to be honest, but that's what it states on the Distrowatch. I'll show you that in a little bit. So Xfce desktop, that's what we're talking about here, and use a fairly modern kernel of 5.18. And then the reason I brought you in here, just to let you know that I'm using the open source Nouveau driver and running this in 1080, and this was capable of doing 4K. I'll show you that when I get into the system settings. I am now going to move on. Where do I start? How about the menu? And by the way, this install key here is on your live copy also, for if you wanted to install that to the hard drive. In a little bit, I'll show you how to add extra dedicated keys to your menu here, like for shutdown and restart, but let's start at the top. So I'm going to skip over Run Program and talk about the native web browser for this system is Firefox. There is an email client or a mail reader. The file manager I might as well click on and get this over with is Thunar. Is this too small for you? Maybe resize the screen. So a lot of you folks prefer large icons, whether you're a senior or just anyone that likes large icons. I'm going to do a little trick here with my left hand and my computer mouse. What am I doing here? I'm holding down the control key with my left hand, and I'm right-handed, holding onto my computer mouse to scroll up and down to make these larger. You can do it the old-fashioned way if you like. I've shown this on lots of my videos. So I'm going to go to pictures for a second. This comes in handy for scrolling thumbnails. And then once you get them in the right size, you can scroll up and down. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way, grab a hold of the little scroll bar. I don't use that. I use my scroll wheel to do this kind of work. This is pretty standard command that I do. So if you've seen any of my videos, you'll know where I'm going with this. So if you can find a wallpaper that you want, you right-click and you set it as wallpaper. You can bring in your digital photos of your children, your pets, friends, whatever it might be. I'm going to pick this one here for a second and just right-click on it for properties to show you that it actually records information. That is my camera that I used on that. You find another photo that's an older one, maybe. What's this one here? This one is, I'm just double clicking. There's some extra tools for you. I think that was Yosemite. Hit properties, I'm right clicking, and that one's taken with an iPhone 6. So sometimes you get more information on some of your digital photos. Scrolling up and down, I can do this all day. Probably freaking some of you out. That's what I call dinky. Probably too small for anyone. As I scroll up, I can make this very huge. And releasing the control key, it will stay in this way until I do this again. You can scroll manually. You can also resize it this way. All right, let's move on. So I'm going to resize that back somewhere in that range. That's your file manager. Again, this is Thunar. All right, let me get rid of that and let's continue. Terminal emulator, that's what I opened. I'm going to open up the software thing a little bit later because you can install software in a couple of different places here. You can use Terminal, you can use Synaptic Package Manager and this software package manager. All right, a couple of configuration tools. I'm going to make this larger for you. Let me drag that out. And now may be a good time to add those keys because it just takes me a second. You need to click out of here for a second, right click on that icon and hit properties. Go over to commands, activate, restart, shutdown. There's some other options for you. Don't edit this unless you know what you're doing. And I'm going to click closed. So now I have a dedicated shutdown key and restart. This is a multi-function key. Okay, just a little tip. All right, so we have favorites, as I pointed out. We have accessories, and I am not going to scroll through everything in here. So you can grab a hold of this if you like, but if you want to use my trick, just use your computer mouse to scroll with. So you'll see the Debian reference because this system is based off of the Debian stable. You'll see that when I give you other properties a little bit later. So you got a disk tool, font manager, and a calculator called Calculator. It's kind of a different name. And screenshot tool, I do advise taking screenshots as I do with all my videos. If you are altering any system settings, let me move my Mac for a second, sorry about the noise. If you are doing any changes to system settings with numbers or even icon sets, I would suggest a screenshot before you alter it. That way you have something to come back to. All right, another reference to Thunar, and then there's two simple tools for USB image writer. That tool is used if you download another computer image in an ISO format, for instance, from say Distrowatch or other places, or go directly to the distribution, and then you can burn it onto a USB stick to give it a test drive maybe, or even installation. The USB stick formatter to clean up your your sticks. I thought that was interesting that this has Ventoy also to create bootable USB sticks. It's a little bit different learning curve than these, but more importantly, I found that amazing to be on there. Warpinator, if any of you folks have ever used Linux Mint, let's say Linux Mint Cinnamon, you will find Warpinator also there. I believe the Linux Mint team designed that piece of software. What is Warpinator used for? Let's say you have two computers on your local network and you want to try to transfer files and folders. You can set that up rather easily on both systems. Both systems have to have Warpinator installed. So technically you can do this one and Linux Mint. How's that? I'll talk a little bit about SAMBA also, because I did notice that there's an icon for it in here. That's also for file sharing. This is pretty simple to use. And this has on the last tab of Warping Area, you can also hit configuration for your firewall in case you use a firewall. All right, let's continue. XF burn for burning CDs, DVDs, that kind of thing. Cairo doc for some doc information, development, education. I'm going to open this up for a second. There's a couple of kids stuff in here. It's kind of cutesy. Again, I'm running this off of the USB stick, so not totally zippy, but not too bad either. Some big icons, some cutesy little things for the kids. All right, let's continue. So I was under education, so you can see all the different tools that are in here. Like Tux Math and Paint and typing is for kids. A couple of games are installed in here. It looks like you can also click onto Steam if you're wanting to do that. Usually Steam requires a subscription, if I recall. I don't use Steam. A couple of things in your graphics area. GIMP comes installed. If you're not familiar with that, it's like Photoshop. GIMP is also available for Microsoft Windows and Macs. I use it heavily. My previous YouTube site, I have over 400 videos, and I used to use GIMP to edit the thumbnails. So my new YouTube site, Linux for Seniors, hopefully you're subscribed, is up to about 40 some odd right now. So you have a lot of different tools in here. There's also LibreOffice kind of stuff, which I'll get into in a second. The Firefox is the native web browser. There's also Falcon web browser. You can, of course, install others. All kinds of toys. Multimedia, Clementine is a nice music player. Audio City. You can probably find other videos on the internet using that application. If you have an Android phone, for instance, and you're looking for a new ringtone, you got a favorite song, there's a procedure using Audio City that you can chop out part of the song and use it for a ringtone, for instance. That one I found interesting. If you have a USB-based camera, if you have ever seen my intro video, that was done with that, superimposed on the screen. It's a very versatile tool. Handbrake, it's an interesting one. Transcodes DVDs. Anyways, and keep in mind it doesn't do all of them. There's a lot of copyrighted materials out there. Let me keep scrolling. Again, I'm not using the little scroll bar. I added this manually. And I think I went through one of the software pack. I used Synaptic to install that, if I recall. It's got VOC also installed. And we can continue. Office, you got AbiWord. You got a dictionary. And you've got the LibreOffice stuff. LibreOffice Writer, if you're not familiar with that. You can open that up, type out a document. It's a word processor. And you can use the save as, and a lot of people don't know this, but the save as command, you can save it in Microsoft formats. Last time I checked, somebody told me LibreOffice is compatible with Microsoft Office. The best cost of LibreOffice, of course, it's open source and free. And I believe LibreOffice is also available for Microsoft and Macs. So anyways, there's some PDF things in here, and way too many tools to shake a stick at. Boot repairs in here. That's if your grub file or Grand Unified bootloader is messed up. Maybe you want to try that before you reinstall software. And I'll open this up in a second here because I'm going to talk about the display. This machine, when I first booted up, this was booted up in 4K because my monitor is 4K. But I'll talk about that display settings in a little bit. I'm using the 1080 just because I wanted the large icons for filming. But it does look a little softer than 4K. Just thought I'd point that out. A lot of things to talk about, right? Again, you can always back this up if you're wondering about it. So I'll talk about the Synaptic Package Manager, Software Manager, and again, there are 3 ways to install software here. And then you have window managers and stuff. So settings, and you can also click this guy down here, and then Wine. That's like an emulator that runs Windows applications. I don't really use that. Most of my software, if not all, is open source. All right, so again, if you wanted those extra keys, you just right click on that icon and go look under commands. So this is your standard settings box, and I'll make this larger for you folks that want larger things, or it's a little bit bigger. How about that? Okay, scrolling to the top, appearance, a couple of different icon sets, whether they be dark or light modes, icons. This is what comes installed. And what do I recommend when you're changing things? Screenshots before you change them. Something to refer back to anytime you do that on any Linux distribution. Okay, so you have a lot of these tools are fairly standard with most Xfce distributions. Quite a few of these tools. And keep in mind you can also add users. You're doing something for kids, and you may want to think about that. Now here's that tool I was referring to earlier. If you heard me mention Warpinator for local file sharing. Now SAMBA is a similar thing. It's a little bit harder to set up than your standard Warpinator, but it can be done. And firewalls, if you activate them, make sure that you write some rules for either SAMBA. And in Warpinator, if you're using that, Warpinator will actually write rules depending on the firewall you have installed. And this is Guvcview. That's what I call it, Guvcview. So Warpinator will actually write rules, whether this is open or closed, right in the rules box, right for you. Just a little tip for you. All right, where do I, well, actually, I'm not going to click on a lot of things. Just going to make mention of, I did make mention of this before, but I'll do it again. And no, my screen is not 72 inch, but it is a 43 inch. I have a video coming out also talking about connecting your Linux distributions up to large flat screens that you can also use for other purposes, like your apps that are going to Netflix and stuff. Anyways, let me stick with this distribution for right now. This is capable of doing 4K. You can see that. You know, a lot of you folks that are running on laptops may not have this option. I'm just telling you that you have that option. Now, in this distribution, as well as others, when you change resolution or refresh rates, always check those also. And you hit apply and the screen goes black for more than 5 or 6 seconds. Leave it alone. Don't reboot the computer. It will time out to go back to your previous resolution. Just a little tip for you. Includes boot repair here because this is the live copy. Again, that's for like fixing your GRUB, Grand Unified Bootloader file, especially if you're doing dual boots or multi-boots. I use most of my machines are multi-boots. Anyways, additional drivers, there's all kinds of toys in here. So that's settings. And we have the lock screen, switch user. Again, I put these in here. This will be a dedicated restart key, shutdown key, and you do get a confirmation. So it goes like that. Okay, you get the idea. And then the multifunction key will allow you to do all three. So you don't obviously have to do that. I'm just pointing out that I added these as a bonus. You got a nice search feature in here, whatever you're looking for, and let's go downstairs. Now, this is an Xfce distribution, you can see that, but it kind of has a dock similar to like a GNOME interface. So here's your file manager again, and don't forget my little trick. Holding down the control key with my left hand and scrolling with my right, computer mouse wise. Firefox, standard web browser, and then there's a communication tool. Now hopefully you're watching this on the largest screen possible for you. Otherwise these icons will probably be too small, especially if you're watching these on mobile devices. I don't recommend watching my videos on mobile devices. Their screens are too small. But anyways, what I'm pointing at here is Thunderbird, which is an email client, another web browser called Falcon, Pigeon. Anyways, I'm just going to scroll through these because I have a lot of material to cover, folks. So in here you have your Office stuff. You have a dictionary. Abby Word is another word processor. That one has a funny name, but more like it's for PDFs. Here's LibreOffice Writer. Keep in mind save as for documents that are like Microsoft formats, spreadsheet, and other tools that they have in their suite. So LibreOffice is a suite, or you can download them independently for a lot of different distributions. Okay, I believe that's the database part. So calculator instead of calculator, all right. And audio, video, photo, burning like CDs, interests. And the little penguin in the center. So the penguin is for like Tux Paint for kids, math, typing, child's play. Potato guy, that's funny. LibreOffice for schools. I haven't clicked on that one. That one looks interesting. There's a lot of options in here, folks. So another shortcut to settings. Gparted, if you're not familiar with what that utility or application does, you can create partitions for hard drives. You can even do it for USB stick if you want to partition your USB sticks in multiple partitions, if it's big enough. I do have a dedicated video currently, so hit subscribe and look that up. For I think I actually have it's a 2-part video, and the part 2 is on Gparted. Users and groups, if you're going to use this with kids, I would suggest creating one for your kids, and basically take a look at the 2 different types. It's usually standard users and administrators. Standard users normally can't install stuff, so they'll have to get your help. That's a good thing for kids. You don't want them to install everything. Screenshot tool, again, I recommend anytime you make system changes to use it on any Linux distribution. Printer settings, and I will stop here for a second. Time shift is used for system restores. I highly suggest, if you install this, is to activate that on any distribution that offers time shift. Okay. Maintenance, did I go over that? No. So you got bleach bit, careful with that one. PC information, again, you can also use terminal. HTOP is a, well, it's a process monitor. You can also open up terminal and type in top. I usually tell, well, folks of the elderly persuasion, if they remember the movie Topper. It's a comedy movie about a ghost and this gentleman. You can look that up on IMDb if you want to get a reference. It's kind of a cute movie. At least I thought so. Anyways, you can run top, not a HTOP, but both of these are ran on a terminal. HTOP just has some more bells and whistles. Top is built into just about every Linux distribution. Let me continue. Here's a thing for boot repair. I believe you normally only find this on your bootable medium like this one. That's to fix your grub file, Grand Unified Bootloader, if you're doing dual boots, multi-boots, that kind of thing. Ventoy is another interesting application that you can burn USB images. And then software. Where do we want to start? With this one or Synaptic? Because you can install software in both locations. Here's your updater. And more importantly, let's open up that one. Take a look at it. So I'm running the live version. And I'm just going to point to the fact that, you know, your interface is point and click in here. And you can do searches. Okay, so this is that. Software repositories. This is where the stuff is coming from. Okay, so Debian. There's probably nothing under other software, but anyways, you get the idea. Let me close that. Where was I? Here. And Synaptic Package Manager. Let me resize this thing. Let me try to resize this thing. Try to grab a hold of this a little bit here. I'll just grab the corner. I was just trying to get a box for you folks. Anyways, you can install software here. 66,292 packages are listed. So there's lots of pieces of software. Packages, software, applications, whatever word you want to use. Some things require multiple packages to get something working. So I'll give you an example of one I'm going to search for. And Now the default is description and name, so normally when I do this, it will be in this list, but it's kind of lengthy, and these boxes are resizable. I usually use the search feature name only if I know the name of the package. And this will find it immediately. It's this one right there. It's an automatic wallpaper changer, so I don't know if they have a screenshot, but I'll try it. And if it is, it's normally a full-size one. This is a screenshot. This is not my desktop. And anyways, you can configure this thing for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, or something like that. There's all kinds of things in here. I like it. Maybe some people don't. But anyways, this is a very typical thing. You'd mark it for installation. And more than likely, this will require maybe 1 or 2 more packages to be installed. I don't remember the exact number. And then you just hit apply. That's how simple it is to use Packet Synaptic. A lot of people may prefer the software manager. And again, you can also use terminal. Lots of different ways. Configuring your firewall is also here. And keep in mind, if you activate your firewall, it's Guvcview, normally the default is always deny incoming and allow outgoing. What that means is if you're using file sharing, you need to write rules to make it, to allow your machine to accept files. Does that make sense? Hopefully it did. All right, what's this little guy? Accessibility. Well, there's some accessibility options, appearance, mouse and touchpad thing, magnifier, onboard, and keyboard. So you can go check out your application shortcuts, for instance. Where am I at? Workspace. Or I skipped over help, sorry. A couple of different things. A lot of things to cover, folks. 4 different workspaces. Show desktop. Another thing for the application menu. Click it here too. Shortcuts. I have extra hard drives, pay no attention to the curtain. And another logout key, or multifunction key, many places. And that one is self-explanatory, your trash can. So your trash can come out this way. I just have, I was redoing this video, so, and then you can open up your file manager and do the same thing. The trash is right there. It's the same file. And I can reduce that to nothing. I can also do a restore. All right, what can I do by right-clicking on the screen? Well, a lot of things. Did I cover this top menu? You know what, I don't think I did. Let me get that over with first. So lock screen, switch users, suspend and shut down and log out. Self-explanatory, pretty much. Calendar thing, and there's some properties also in here. My volume thing, and I'm using my microphone to record this video. The Bluetooth thing, I'm just going to skip over. That's just an icon for a simple screen recorder. That's what I'm using to record the software. Your Wi-Fi stuff or Ethernet, whichever you prefer, or I should say whichever you have. And then the icon for, in my case, I have wireless mouse and keyboard. It tells me the battery. And you know what? I would not always put 100% stock into what this is reporting. It's close. It's close. But even at 100%, my keyboard is probably running somewhere around maybe 90-something%. So, but you get a fairly good idea if you're getting low on your battery. And you know, for most of your wireless keyboards and mice nowadays, they even post it to your screen. It says, hey, something's wrong. Or the other way, if you have an older one, it just stops working. So check your batteries if you're using those. All right, right-clicking on the screen. We can create launchers. Not going to get into that. We can create URLs. Have you seen some of my other videos for Xfce desktops? I use that to create simple web-based icons. All right, we can create regular text files. That's what empty files are. In other words, they don't have a word processor. So I'm just going to do this on my desktop and see what kind of text editor this is. So this is Sulamar. So it's a lightweight, looks like, that's funny that it does have icons though. Anyways, there's a lot of text editors and you can download that from your software stores that people use to write text files without word processor or write script files. I do that also. I write that for some of my distributions so it does automatic backups from one folder to another hard drive, for instance. That's what those kind of text editors are used for. Right click, paste command. You can open up your file manager, Thunar, in root mode, open up your terminal here. You can also open up the terminal in root mode, and that's for SAMBA, for file sharing. Disk usage, my goodness, there's plenty of things. Desktop settings, standard wallpaper that comes with the system. You can activate your home icons, file system, and trash can if you want those. I don't really care for those because my file manager has all three. So you can do a lot of things with that. And I think this also has the icon size in here too. So if they're too dinky for you, you may want to investigate these options. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent there. Applications, let me start this at the top because it's such a lengthy menu. Applications, I can just start going and walking through this whole thing. Now keep in mind, I'm still running in 1080 mode. When I brought this into this 4K monitor, it actually booted it up in 4K. I just didn't want to do that for the video because the icons would have been too small. Okay? So Wine is something that you're used with, if you're trying to install a Microsoft application. I believe they're still not 100% compatible, but it will run some things. Okay, there's another logout key here. All right, let's go see where we can get this distribution if you're curious. All right, so these are the standard links that come on the web browser for this distribution, and you'll probably see a foreign language, but anyways, we're going to click Distrowatch and go look for this thing. And actually they have it sitting here, but you can also type in the name here, Emmabuntus. And now I'm going to give you the thing. They're currently rated at 109. So normally what happens with distributions like this, I'll make this larger, and then you can use my trick to resize these things. All I'm doing is holding down the control key with my left hand and scrolling up and down to get it to the size I want. Anyways, more importantly, what happens is Distrowatch will probably place that somewhere in the region of 109 to 110, probably in the next couple of days. But you can use that keyword to go look for it if you want to test it out today. Anyways, they're Debian-based, stable branch. That's the type of... you'll see buzzwords like Ubuntu-based or Arch-based, that kind of thing, or independent even. Anyways, they're out of the country of France. They offer the Xfce and LXQt. When you download the live medium, and this is a beginner's by the way, you can download the live medium and read about it. I believe they're also available for older computers because there's the 32-bit version also. But anyways, the interface when you boot it up on your live medium will give you a choice between these two desktops. I thought that was an interesting feature. So I'm going to go actually on their home page to give you a lot of people that are fairly new to Linux in general. Now you can see the thing translated from a different language into the English because I told it to use English. Never mind. So we're going to go to the download section and talk about the distributions here. All right, so the page just got translated for me in English. There was in a different language if you noticed when it first came up. But so they have the unstable versions and then they have the recommended versions. So 32-bit here and 64-bit here. You would just click that. All these MDA, SH1 and whatever, these are verification things for your files, if you're curious. But again, they tell you the approximate download size and then you just click that. So we're going to go with the recommended 64-bit. What's the difference between 32-bit and, of course, you just save the file, okay? And then you see the name. And then you can burn that onto your USB sticks and or DVDs. Anyways, the difference between the 32-bit is for older computers mostly. And I'm going to actually close that. And then the 64-bit is, I believe, in the last 10 years. That's what all the central processors are. And motherboards are 64-bit, if that makes sense. Okay, and you can always use the terminal box to determine what kind of computer that you're trying to run this on. So I'm going to remind you, if you become a subscriber, you can watch my videos on your big screen TVs. You can, usually there's, the YouTube app is installed with a lot of smart TVs, or you can go to their software stores and download that application and watch YouTube on your big screen TV. Don't forget, it's Linux for Seniors. You can watch me on the big screen. And stay tuned. You may want to check out my video on how to connect your big screen to your standard distributions, which is very simple. On that note, thank you for watching, folks.